You can't rule that out in an organization. What the human resources office usually is to support largely management decision.
Okay.
Management decision. But as a professional, some management decision might not really pay. A good human resources manager should tell the truth to power, so to say, the management team. This thing may not really go down well with the staff. Let's go like let's do it the other way around. So a good human resources manager, and I see this lacking
several organizations.
In several organizations, they don't want to tell the truth
for fear of losing their jobs too.
For fear of losing their job. A good human resource manager need to I don't want to use the word confront, need to just know how to manage the management, senior management staff and the staff.
Okay.
And like what you said, if two staff are having issue,
yes,
what a good human resource manager needs to do is to call them, asking them what is the problem.
Okay.
After asking them what's the problem, try to, we are trained to understand something that that are not said. Then try to understand them. If we're things that could be resolved, maybe, okay, for instance now, you have one photocopy machine.
Yes.
And one department want to copy, another department want to copy. That can bring up issue.
Yes.
You need to know what to do to solve that problem.
Okay.
What could probably bring an issue in organization? That is what a human resources need to manage. For them to forestall any human resources related issue in an organization.
Okay, you said earlier that if the workplace is toxic, the employee can, confront, respectfully apparently, and lay down their grievances to their line managers or employees and all. Now, let's take, for instance, an organization that does not even have a structure, as you've said. That the case of GBAGI's hotel and the staff and all of that, there may not be a proper structure in place, that could have prevented that. So, in an organization where you do not have a proper structure, how do you still expect, the employees to address issues of, trampling on their fundamental human rights or issues of disputes between them and their employers?
I think the best thing for you just to quit.
Just to quit.
Organization.
The way you say quit. It's as though there's a job waiting for you when you quit
that organization, because I've had one or two experience, maybe because of my person anyway.
Okay.
I can't allow any organization, any boss to maltreat me, so to say.
Okay.
Where who do you want to report to until you die? Like I said, no proper structure whereby you can report any misgiving or any misconduct to. So the best is just to quit. For me, that's my recommendation anyway.
Okay, now let's look at this instance. There's some workplaces that will tell you they're not interested in, dealing in legal issues with an employee. In other words, if there are issues, it has to be resolved in-house rather than being taken to court. In that instance, if, for example, Victor Ephraim's, ordeal with GBAGI happens, how do you expect the employee to, seek some sort of resolution in such an instance? The reason I'm asking is, for example, Victor Ephraim, was stripped naked, was tortured and all of that. But probably when he signed the contract with the company, it was stated explicitly that he can't take them to court. So in that instance, how do you expect him to resolve issues like this?
For an employer to state in their contract that a matter can be resolved in
the court, that you can't take them to court.
Outside of the office.
It's not admissible in our law.
Okay.
It's not admissible in our law. If, for instance, if that person takes that issue to court, court will strike out that
clause. Okay.
That clause from their contract.
Okay.
Courts are there to resolve issue. So you can't use your the so-called contract you sign to hold them. The court will strike it out.
Okay.
That I know. Court will strike it out.
That much you know. Okay. So let's look at this now. I mean, at what point can, I mean, we've been speaking from place of what can the employee do and all of that. Let's look at the employer as well. In the sense that you have a staff who is probably stealing from you repeatedly and what have you. I mean, no one would say go down the Kenneth Gbagi route of dehumanizing the staff. But what would, as an HR personnel who has worked with various organizations, what would you suggest that the employer should do in such an instance where there's a staff who is either repeatedly stealing from him or her, or repeatedly defaulting in certain regulations of the company?
We've had, and what we need to do is just to get evidence.
Okay.
From that evidence, take the evidence to police station. Lead rest to police station. They know what to do. They know what to do.
Okay. In terms of prosecuting.
In terms of prosecution.
Okay.
Just hand the person to the police station.
And they handle it from there.
Okay. So well, I think that's he has spoken about the fact that a HR personnel should be an intermediary between the staff and the management, and also the case of toxic workplaces. Now, that's if the boss is toxic. That's if your employers are toxic. What if the employees, or some employees, or an employee is the one bringing, or some employees are the ones spreading toxicity in the workplace? So what should be done by the employer and his fellow employees?
It's straight up now. You have an organization, and here you employ somebody, paying him or her every month, and this person is capable of causing trouble. If that staff is best of your staff, what you need to do is to warn him, and if he doesn't adhere to your warning, just to let him or her go.
Okay.
For peace to, I mean, you can always get a better person.
Yes.
Okay, but what are the...
And in human resources, we don't build system around one person. Because we believe that what if that person dies, or he may not be able to perform his duty? So what will happen? So you don't build
the structure
or institution around just one person.
Okay.
But what are the rules guiding termination of employment? Some employers just wake up and terminate employment, probably for reasons.
Difference between termination and dismissal.
Oh, okay.
Okay, what
you probably want to explain
that.
I mean, clarify that.
For instance, the case of Kenneth Gbagi now,
yes,
you can terminate the contract between. Gbagi can terminate the contract between him and that person, and citing just reason. For dismissal, maybe you give. I employ, normally for we in human resources management, what we do is that when you employ somebody, you place him on probation, maybe 3
months or 6 months,
6 month probation, and if that person doesn't meet up to your 3 to 6 month probation, there's something that's called appraisal.
Yes.
So when you appraise him, if he doesn't meet up to your requirement, you can dismiss the person and let him go. Because if you terminate that person, I know in law you might probably pay that person some benefit. Okay. But if you dismiss him, as a result that person doesn't meet your requirement.
If the probation period, lapses, I mean, if probably 6 months, and the staff had spent more than 6 months, maybe spent 8 months, 10 months, and then you now decide to dismiss for whatever reason, is that still dismissal or it's termination of contract?
It's termination.
It's termination. So dismissal is basically within the probation period.
Exactly.
Okay, termination is after the probation period. Okay, that's quite enlightening, really.
Well,
okay, I think that's it. I mean, your final word. Let's just get your final word when it comes to employees and employers, the relationship, how to have a cordial relationship, how to make the workplace conducive for working. what are the tips you suggest?
I think the employer should create an enabling environment for the employee to create an enabling environment for the employers to work. You know, you create the atmosphere you want in your workplace.
Okay.
And if there is any issue, I mean, you have government, you have a statutory place whereby you can resolve issues with anybody or anyone you employ.
Okay, that's a great one.
Well, in a nutshell, I think he has made us understand the difference between dismissal and termination. I used to think they are the same thing, and also the fact that nobody really has the right to talk down on you.
Exactly.
And also the fact that, well, I want to ask you before you go, in an environment where there's work, is it the employer doing the employee a favor or the employee doing the employer a favor?
Nobody is doing anybody a favor, because you are buying my time to get what you want.
Exactly.
All right, because I've had an issue. We've heard issues where someone says they are doing the employer a favor, and the employee is also saying we are doing the employer a favor. And I'm wondering, you are being paid to do your work.
Well, that's the mindset around there. Nobody, I mean, nobody is doing anybody a favor. I'm giving you value.
Exactly.
Value in terms of my time, and you are paying for my value in terms of your money. So nobody is actually doing anybody.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
Exactly.
Okay.
A favor.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Rotimi Olakpade, HR personnel, for sharing your thoughts on these issues concerning workplace.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right, that was Mr. Rotimi Olakpade, Human Resource Manager, and then you've heard it all. So it is what it is. We'll take another short break now. When we come back, we have more interesting segments on iBrandTV this beautiful morning. Stay with us.